coffee shop. It's June 23rd, a bright, no, I'm not going to say bright, I'm going to say overcast Sunday morning.
The word of the day is gray.
Yes, gray, drippy, very Seattle weather, and we're coming to you from the Starbucks on the corner of Corson and, what is that? What road is this? Michigan. In sort of Georgetown.
And yeah, we're like in the no man's land between Georgetown and Soto.
Oh yeah, totally. Yeah. And we're in this little strip mall with a Starbucks, a Herfy's hamburger fish and chips, a Wells Fargo, a bubble tea place. We were supposed to go to this cool Starbucks in Tukwila that's made out of storage containers, but they only have outdoor seating, and it is rainy, so we did not go there.
Yeah, electronics and water just don't mix.
It's true. And today you should notice an improvement in the quality of our sound, which is why we can't record in the rain.
Yeah, and you'll hear airplanes and cars passing by because we're outside.
It's true. We are outside the Starbucks. So we're still outside, but this outside has protection, which Scott put up the umbrella because this Starbucks is run by people who, in my opinion, sort of act like the 14-year-old part-time McDonald's worker.
I just wondered, it's probably not in their pay grade to know where a fuse box is.
Or to have a bathroom available, or to know what black coffee is. Did you notice that after we both said black, they asked if I wanted cream and sugar?
Yeah.
And I was like, no.
Yeah.
Black coffee generally does not.
I think it's pretty much, well, in their defense, I think that's something that they are beat over the head to ask.
That's true.
So it's their customer service that's ingrained in them. But however, I do think there should be a working bathroom.
Yes. I think there should be a working bathroom. I think there should also be a working knowledge of coffee vernacular at a coffee shop. Like, this guy I used to date, I'm in a grumpy mood today, so I'm going to complain about everything. We used to go to Red Robin all the time, and Red Robin does not accept meat orders that are indicated rare, medium rare, well done. They ask you pink or no pink.
Oh.
To which I respond, well, a medium cooked burger has a little pink in it, so I'm gonna go with pink. And then he tells me that I'm being rude, and I'm like, oh no, I'm not being rude. I'm explaining their job to them because they are waitresses, and you should know that medium
rare
has a little bit of pink in it, but they don't allow
Peggy's
you.
Fired up today.
I'm totally fired up today. I'm so grumpy. Only I wouldn't be as grumpy except for that coffee shop experience, which the shop in there is like really, not clean. There's books out that look like employee manuals. He was really rude to you. Like Scott walked up to the counter, and the guy behind the counter answered the phone and just put a sassy finger out. And I'm like, really? Wow. Wow.
I've learned to I'm like a duck. I let it roll off my back. That kind of stuff.
No, I find people to be rude and adults. I went into my office the other day, and I have 2 different offices, and one of them is up in Capitol Hill. And there was someone just filling in at the front desk. And I walked in, and she's like, who are you? And I was like, who are you? I work here. Why are you sitting behind the front desk? And she then just turned away from me and was talking on the phone. And I was like, wow, I don't even know who that person was.
I would think that would bump me at a place I worked, and there's somebody filling in, and their job is basically to greet people, not to interrogate.
Right. Well, it was just the most intensely rude thing, and I don't think people even are aware when they're rude to people anymore.
No.
They're so self-interested that they don't even go, oh, I just interacted with a human and was a dick to them.
Yeah,
anyway. I should get back to my intro. But that is where we are. We are at the Starbucks, and I would not recommend this Starbucks. I haven't even tasted my coffee yet, though. Let's try it. Yeah, it's Starbucks.
It's black coffee.
Yeah, it's black coffee. I actually then put Splenda in my black coffee, but I just don't like them to put it in because they always put too much in.
Right.
I like to micromanage that part myself.
But I usually order something that I can't pronounce, and today I just went with a plain old Americano because I was like,
Nice.
I want to be a little bit nicer to my body. And because all this stuff
is Americano nicer to your body?
It doesn't have all the calories and
I
all
gotcha.
that other stuff, So it's a black
So
coffee.
you usually get like a Frappuccino or a
15,000 calorie drink, you know what I mean?
Totally.
It's just like,
yeah, I have these two friends in Las Vegas who started working at a Starbucks one summer and put on like 40 pounds.
and they couldn't understand why.
And then one of them, his name's Sean, he was like, I just found out that the Frappuccino has 1,200 calories in it.
Yeah,
and I was having 2 a day.
That's pretty much your allowance of calories a day.
Yes.
And then some. And if you're not exercising, that's even worse.
Yeah, and they just packed on the weight. And then they stopped drinking the Frappuccinos and it all just fell off because they were... that was the only change.
That actually leads me into something. This is a conversation when you start getting old, is when you start talking about diet and calories. Because I spent last night with some friends, and that's all we talked about was diabetic and insulin. And I was
that's
like,
because you're a boy. If you're a female, you have had diet conversations since the age of 10. Not a joke. I have friends who our entire social interaction is based on having conversations about diets.
Yeah, man. I was like, all we talked about was diet and exercise, and I was like, this is actually really depressing. And I wanted to talk about like stuff we did or are gonna do. Like my son and I went to the SIR, or formerly known SIR, Pacific Raceways.
Oh, okay. Cool.
Yeah, and we went there, and I want to talk about that, gasoline and burning rubber and stuff like that. And then
you have to talk about gluten and carb intake and. I actually had lunch with my friend Stacy yesterday, who I'm hoping will join us on the podcast very soon. We just need to work out the schedules, but she is like super on board. And half our conversation was talking like, not necessarily diet, we were talking fitness mostly, but talking about like how we're eating lately. I think it's way more about way more present in female conversations than in male conversations.
Well, yeah, because it's
nothing new to me.
Nothing that's been in my conversation wheelhouse for ages, and then all of a sudden we're talking about kale.
Yeah.
And
and women won't talk about it in front of men, but by themselves they'll talk about it all the time. And I've found that men will pay attention to it, but don't want to have a conversation.
I got lectured on olive oil.
Really?
Yeah, there's 150 calories per tablespoon of olive oil.
Yeah, olive oil doesn't have fewer calories than another kind of oil, which actually...
But it's amazing. I love olive oil. And I was like, stop ruining my olive oil. I love olive oil.
You can still use it. You need fat in your diet. Now, we're having a diet conversation.
Yeah, see what happens?
I had a friend who was eating potato salad, and she's a coworker, and she was she was saying something about eating healthy, and I was like... Really? Potato salad was your idea of bringing something healthy? And she's like, I used olive oil mayonnaise. And I was like, I can't even talk to you about this.
That was the loophole in her logic.
I was like, yeah, it's the same. Like, it's the same.
It has a little bit more omega-3 in it.
Yeah, but in terms of, like, what she means by healthy, which is a whole other story, because I have a lot of beliefs about what we talk about as healthy and unhealthy, and how what we really mean is things that make you fat and things that make you skinny, which are not healthy and unhealthy inherently. Sometimes they line up, but often they don't. But what she really meant was fewer calories, not healthier. And I was like, oh no, that does not have fewer calories. That is the same.
All right, now I'm on a tangent. Now it's like light mayonnaise. It tastes like ass.
It does taste like ass.
And it's not actually better for you. It's pumped up with carbs. They bump up to make it taste better in their mind.
They put a whole bunch of shit in it.
Yeah, they pump up the carbs, and they take the fat out. Leave the fat in there.
Yeah.
Just use less goddamn mayonnaise.
Yeah, totally.
That's light mayonnaise. Just don't use as much.
I heard someone talking recently about how the more food you you, like, the closer you get to the point of preparation from the whole food into
Right.
what you make, the healthier it is.
Right.
So, like, the fewer steps between it coming out of the ground or out of the animal and into your mouth, the better off
right.
you are. And so, like, anything that, because you can make real mayonnaise at home.
Yeah.
You can buy real mayonnaise in a jar, or you can buy the fake mayonnaise with a whole bunch of shit in it.
Right.
And, like, the one that's ultimately going to be better for you is, you know, if you have eggs and, what is it, eggs and oil and a blender
Eggs,
at
oil,
home.
and vinegar.
Yeah, vinegar, and you blend that shit up. And which actually, I had a roommate once that made homemade mayonnaise, and it is so good, like, amazing.
You can put other things in it too, like curry and stuff like that, make your own flavors. And because just because that's what I don't get too is like we're so far removed from that process of actually being with our food.
Yeah.
That everything has to come. It has to be pasteurized. Packaged, processed, everything has to be removed, then put back in.
Yeah.
That's the thing that gets me too. They remove everything out to clean it, to sterilize it, and then put it back in.
And then it's like they take the brown part off of the rice and then tell you to eat more fiber, and you're like, well, if I just had brown rice, that already had fiber in it. So...
Right? And I found quinoa.
Oh, I love quinoa.
Yeah.
See, quinoa is, I actually went, okay, now we're getting into this whole food thing. So I went vegan once for a month because sometimes I'm like, I can do anything for a month. Like, I'm super good at changing the way I eat for confined periods. And so I was like, well, I'm just going to try eating a vegan diet because it seems really, like, full of vegetables and maybe it'll be really good. And I put on, like, 40 pounds in a month. And for me, it was because in order to get the amount of protein to keep me from being grumpy all the time, I was eating just like crazy amounts of calories.
Right.
But quinoa was the thing that I started to like super love because isn't it a little higher in protein?
It's the only grain that's
filling.
It's a complete protein.
Yes.
It's a grain that's a complete protein. And it's really low in carbs.
Yeah.
And so it's a great supplement for rice. It's like
it's true
because I'm gonna say my household is addicted to rice.
Oh yeah.
And we broke that addiction a while ago, and it was tough. It was almost like my wife stopped smoking.
Yeah.
It was work. You know, she got the grumpy, she got moody, but she broke it, and now we've been experimenting back and forth.
Yeah.
And quinoa I like.
It is good, but you cannot eat huge amounts of it.
Well,
or you put on weight, which I found out because I was eating good food. I was just eating way too much of it. Right. And then I was like, but you know what I loved about being vegan? Really fantastic poops. Like the most colorful, sweet-smelling, magical dream poops. It was amazing. Yeah, you know, I'm a good-smelling person. Yeah. I have a really nice natural smell, so I also use antiperspirant, not deodorant. So I use just a straight antiperspirant, which it cuts down because it basically like kills your sweat glands slowly over time, which I'm okay with because I used to be very sweaty and now I'm very not.
Yeah, I got funky bits. I do use deodorant, but
you're
I can't.
You're a boy too, so you've got the hormones
I
for it.
can't do the antiperspirant because I chafe.
Oh, okay.
I need that lubrication.
Yeah, that was a big, transition of going from feeling, and that slight deodorant-y smell that you have, like when you just use antiperspirant, you don't have that smell, which actually, to me, is a bonus, because I'm very smell sensitive. Yeah. But, and sometimes it burns when you put it on, which I'm sure means I'm going to get cancer. I'm totally okay with it. And I've like the bargain of be the sweatiest female your entire life and possibly maybe someday get cancer. I've made peace with that and gone, if someday I get it, I will have only myself to blame. And that's a choice I'm making.
There's no free lunches in nature, that's all.
No. Plus, if you really look at the science, there's no tie between aluminum chloride and cancer. But the granola people who don't understand science will tell you that there is. But that's okay. Because they don't understand that the difference between no evidence and evidence of no are two different things. Like some people read studies that go, no statistically significant tie has been found between A and B, and they read that as saying, well, there's no evidence whether they're related, and I think they're related, but really what it's saying is
they haven't done all the research.
There is no relation between A and B statistically. So it is actually evidence of no correlation.
Yeah.
But then people don't know how to read research, which is fine. I'm grumpy today.
That's all right.
I'm okay with it.
It's fun. I like it because you get to vent. That's another thing too.
I
That's the wonderful thing about because we've been riding waves here. We went through diet. We've gone through Starbucks location. Now we're going through body order. Hey, about 2 weeks ago, I had a knock at the door, and a young gentleman was inviting us to church.
Ah, you had Mormons stop by.
No,
or were they
it's a
Jehovah's
local
Witnesses?
church, just a local
really?
church. Yeah,
That's
we
weird.
like that, and I was like, he handed me the pamphlet that he's like, we'd like you to invite. We're having a nice sermon this Sunday, and I was like, you know what? I really got to be honest with you, and I told him straight up, I'm atheist. And you should have seen the look on that guy's face. Oh,
really?
Yeah, it looked like I punched him in the stomach.
Crazy.
Yeah, and he goes, well, we believe in God. I said, okay, that's fine.
You.
Good for you.
Yeah, congratulations.
Happy joy dance. I want to dance for him, And,
did he try to argue with you?
No.
Oh, good.
No, I would have just shut the door.
Yeah.
Just shut the door. Because that's my. I didn't even have to open the door, but I opened the door and talked to him. It used to be I would entertain these people for a long time. I'd talk to them forever. The ones I liked talking to the most were the Jehovah's Witness. Because I would argue with them. But it was just. It was just kind of, that's something that popped in my head, just the look on his face.
Totally.
Because I'm starting to become more, I never really, really said it out loud to anybody else, but besides my family, that I'm an atheist. And now I'm saying, I'm an atheist.
Totally.
I don't really believe in the whole structured religion of any writ,
Yeah.
And
I'm surprised how many people don't, I have a friend who recently asked me, what church I go to, and I was like, oh, I'm atheist, and she's like, I don't know what that is, and I was like, really? You don't even know what it is? And I explained to her, I was like, I don't believe there is a God at all. Right. And she was like, oh, really? And I was like, yeah. And she was super cool about it, she doesn't care, but just the fact that she was not familiar with what that is. Usually they have all these preloaded ideas that have been told to them, because she's church going, and usually they've heard all these weird things about atheists that we, I don't know, burn down churches and murder babies and stuff.
Right,
but she had never heard that word, and she's a grown person, and I was like, well, I'm an atheist. There you go.
Last night when I was meeting with a bunch of people, or friends of mine, and we were sitting around the campfire, and I happened to mention that when I used to go to the gym a lot, and I'd come home and I'd be all pumped up with energy and testosterone.
Oh yeah.
And I couldn't sleep, and I had to quiet my mind, so I said I meditate. And they're like, you're atheist, how do you meditate? I said, it's not the same thing.
No.
It's not meditation, even being kind of spiritual doesn't mean that you have or you believe in a God.
Well, and even the word spiritual, I had this big beef in grad school with teachers who would say that, because I studied social work, and they're all very inclusive, and they want to divide up your personhood into all these different things. They call it a biopsychosocial assessment, which is your biology, your psychology.
Say that with a mouthful
I know. Now it just rolls off my tongue because I had to say it so many times in school. But it's all the different parts of you, your thoughts, your emotions, and then they add in the category of spirituality. And my argument against that was, what is spirituality aside from thoughts and emotions?
Right.
To me, there is no. It's your ideas about the world and your feelings about the world, which are thoughts and emotions. So, to me, I don't like to use the word spiritual because it suggests that there's a third type of experiencing things aside from thoughts and emotions. And to me, it's the same thing. I have meanings in the world. I have emotions about the meanings that I make, but I don't assign a third category to it. But other people do, because they believe that there's some kind of other extrasensory thing that they're experiencing. And to me, that's fine, but I don't. Personally, I go, no, those are, meditation, it creates a certain kind of, thinking pattern, and it helps you slow down your mind, and that's thinking and emotions. Like it's not a third thing.
It's slowing. It's the process of slowing everything down and keeping the thought, because that's what gives. Your physical form is tired, but your mind is awake, and you need to slow it down to quiet and bring the world around you to a dull roar, so you can actually fall asleep. And that's what I was using it for, and it works. But that's just the whole thing. When I said I was atheist, I couldn't possibly meditate.
That's still a thing.
No, I still do.
Yeah, especially when a lot of people who come from religions where meditation is their ground, they don't necessarily believe in a God. There's a lot of Buddhists who don't believe in a supreme being. Am I wrong about that, or am I right? Because at least I've met Buddhists who claim to be atheist Buddhists. That they believe in the tradition of Buddhism and the meditative way of living, but don't necessarily think that there is.
It's more or less if I'm
supreme being.
If I'm in the last few weeks, if I'm going to guess right, it's about the path to enlightenment, not necessarily it's nirvana, and it's all about basically living your life in such a way, or thinking about more or less ending your suffering. Basically.
Yeah, right.
And because that was one of the most misconceptions because my wife is Buddhist, and one of the most misconceptions of when we started dating is people would say, well, Buddha is a false god, and I said, well, from what I understand, Buddha's not a god; he's a man who found enlightenment.
Right.
And this is just all from my understanding. It may be totally wrong.
And there's so many Buddhists on Earth. I'm sure there's 1,000 different interpretations of everything. You know,
there is in every religion.
Right.
It's like it's the telephone booth game. Or what they call telegraph. You tell this person as it gets around to the final person. It's so far removed from the actual first word. It doesn't make sense from what that would. If you were to go back to Buddha and say, okay, this is how we believe. Is this what you meant? And he's like, no.
Right.
I meant go to the bathroom regularly. I meant go chop wood. I meant eat. I meant be nice to your family.
Yeah.
It's just stuff like that. And
exactly.
If you went back to Jesus Christ or Muhammad, whoever
whatever the prophet du jour is.
And if you're like, is this what you meant? And they're like, are you guys? Me? Are you talking about me? I just was doing what I thought was right. I didn't expect you to make a church after me.
I'm sure.
I bet. But that's just what my opinion is.
Yeah. Well, and I think there's a lot of, people claiming to have some sort of extra expertise in something that there's no way to have an extra expertise in. I just get very suspicious of people who go out and say, I know what God wants you to do. That framework to me goes, well, if there is a God, then why would he not just tell me? Why is he telling you? And why are you then asking me for money?
And did you hear him right?
Right.
Is that what he really said? Were you
drunk? Oh my gosh. But I recently, actually it was a couple months ago, talked to some Mormon missionaries, which I try to stay away from them because I know all the tricks, and I don't like to be mean to people. But I actually had a really good conversation with these two really nice elders who were very well-meaning, but I explained to them, oh yeah, I used to be Mormon, and I went on a mission, and now I'm not. And that's good for me. And, they had which they have to have such a hard time with it, because they're, all of your social structure is built around you being in this inclusive group, and then you meet someone who's like, yeah, I was in it, and it was good, and then one day it wasn't good anymore, and now I'm happier without it.
Right.
And it really bothered them. And then they asked me, well, what do you think happens after you die? And my response is, and always is, nothing, and isn't it wonderful? And they're doesn't that make you sad? I'm like, no, it gives me very deep peace to think that when I die, nothing that happened on this earth that we're on really matters that much, and I move on and I'm dead, and then isn't that great? Because nothing that happens in this world can be so horrible.
I think it releases you excuse me, it releases you to appreciate the now.
Yeah, exactly.
Because it's not the promise of, well, it's going to be better. Well,
Right.
Make now better.
Exactly.
You know, appreciate your now. Don't, you know, it's like you're living towards something that hasn't happened yet or may not ever happen yet.
Exactly.
So
and
just be cool now.
Like moments where I feel like everything is kind of chaotic and there's a lot of stress. Sometimes I'll just sit and think, in 100 years, every single person involved in this will be dead. And like it just makes me put it in perspective of like, maybe I shouldn't take all this so seriously. Maybe I should just enjoy my life and love the people around me and not worry about stuff. And it really, like, to me, it really, like, calms me down and makes me feel very peaceful. And the missionaries come from this background that the only peace you can have is through a promise of being with your family forever. Sometimes I need the promise of not being with my family.
Really? Yeah.
I mean, you have a family of choice.
Family?
Yeah.
No,
I love my family, but like sometimes they drive me a little crazy, and I think, I won't be stuck with you for eternity. That is so good news.
So let's segue into what you watched a movie last week.
Oh, I did watch a movie. Oh my gosh. Okay, did you see it?
No, but you go ahead. Spoil away. I don't mind.
This Is the End, starring Seth Rogen, James Franco, Jay Baruchel, Danny McBride, Jonah Hill, Rihanna, Craig Ferguson. I think, Michael Cera's in there. The guy who played McLovin in Superbad is in there. It's just like everyone playing themselves, and it's about the apocalypse. I had, like, if I'm going to contradict myself, a spiritual experience watching this movie where, not really spiritual, but in a movie theater, like, had a moment of, I've never been more happy to be in a movie theater in my whole life than watching this movie. It was so poop, fart, dick joke, funny. Like, they have a conversation about gluten that I had tears in my eyes laughing. It was so funny and sharp, and, like, the writing is great, and it's ridiculous. Like, they, every possible ridiculous thing that could happen in an apocalypse happens.
Really?
And it's so, like, a ton of people get just brutally murdered in really grotesque, comical ways, because it's like, they're, like, fighting for their lives,
right.
But they're stoners hanging out in James Franco's house, and he's, like, they all play these, like, hyper-realistic parts of themselves, and James Franco is shown as this, like, really pretentious, like, art snob, so he has, like, a modern art sculpture of a dick that comes into a lot of humor that's, like, this giant dick sculpture, and Craig Ferguson makes it into a bed, which is really funny to me. It was just like, I laughed beginning to end, and then ever since I saw it, I keep seeing stuff on Facebook where people are like disgusted by it.
Really?
Like, they think it is the most juvenile, stupid movie, and I'm like, I don't
That's why we go to movies.
Exactly.
To be disgusted
like, fine.
and juvenile.
You know, if you want to be poopy about a really funny movie, go ahead, but that movie is freaking hysterical. And like, my best friend in Chicago, he and his girlfriend went, and he just posted last night that she made him walk out of it. She was like, I can't do this anymore. And he was like, he posted about it, and I was like, no, you have to go back. He's like, oh, I will go back. But she could not take it, which is fine, because she's very sensitive,
I think
very
it would have been
sweet.
hard having you in the car.
Yeah, I know. I'd be like, are you kidding me? I have to see this movie.
Yeah.
So maybe I just have very, oh, that was nice. I love it when people beep their horn for no reason. Like, maybe I just have very 13-year-old boy sense of humor, but I thought it was so funny, and like, I don't know, because it did have a lot of dick jokes. However, it also had a lot of really smart humor in it, and really self-effacing humor, where they were just, like making fun of themselves constantly, and I just really enjoyed that.
I love that. I
loved
love
it.
that kind of humor too.
Yeah.
Because it's teaching you not to really take life as seriously as everybody thinks you should. Mm-hmm. And I've
Jonah Hill, he's Academy Award nominated, and they kept bringing it up. Like, and there'll be moments where he's like, I'm a fucking Academy Award nominated actor, but they're in the middle of an apocalypse, and like people are dying, and so like, to me that's hilarious because you're like, you're using something that no longer matters,
right?
You know, as a reason.
It's a moot point,
right? You're like, yeah, because the Academy Awards really matter when everyone we've ever known is now dead.
Right. It's like that's his currency or something.
Right. Totally.
Now, did he chunk up again for this movie?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, I don't think he did it for the movie, but he has gone back to what I believe is his perfect state, which is a little bit chubby.
Right.
I think he looks super weird, skinny,
really?
like kind of creepy in a weird way.
Because he got really big and like
right, he got super big and then really, really thin, and now he's back in that kind of middle range.
At the super bad weight.
A little smaller than that, actually.
Okay, good.
Yeah, like a little bit smaller. Because at Superbad, he was a little bit, like, his face was really round. But he's more like a kind of slim face, but chunky again.
Right.
Yeah.
So, well, that was also Superbad. He was also a younger adult. He was like in his early 20s.
Yeah, totally.
Or maybe late teens. No, he was early 20s back then. But.
Which actually, the same two writers wrote Superbad as wrote This Is the End.
Superbad.
Yeah.
Oh, Superbad is
well, if you love
hilarious.
Superbad, you will love This Is the End. I'm actually probably going to go see it again. I really liked it.
We actually rented Superbad. Or no, I bought it.
Oh,
it was on sale at Blockbuster, and I bought it.
gosh.
And because my son wanted to see it, he just saw the TV trailers of Superbad,
okay.
and it wasn't. And he's like, I want to see the movie. He just looked at me, and goes, Dad, this movie's not appropriate for me. He got up. And left.
Really?
Yeah, well, because
he's so sweet.
He was 9 or 10.
Oh, okay. So this was when it first came out.
Yeah,
I gotcha.
and even younger than that. I think you might have been 7 or 8.
Huh. Oh, yeah.
It's
so
been
that
about
movie
5
is-
or 6 years.
Like, even just the scene where he's drawing all the dicks.
Right.
Oh, my God.
And I rolled.
Me too.
Especially when they were
It's so
showing them
funny.
at the end of the montage. All the phallic
so
drawn, different renditions like Jaws and Star Wars and just.
Oh, funny.
That kid might have had a problem.
Yeah, there's something psychological happening there.
Right.
No, that's like every 13-year-old boy, as Jacob says.
I was drawing boobs.
Oh, well, that's true.
Everything was round. I like to draw.
Yeah, it is pretty funny. I also saw... What else did I see? Oh my gosh, I totally watched something that I was going to talk about. Now I can't remember what movie it was. Oh well. Anyway.
I watched a movie that was kind of interesting. It was kind of a documentary with Jim Brewer.
Oh, yeah?
It's called More Than Me. And it was about him taking his father on a road trip with him. And his father's 80.
Jim Brewer, the comic?
Mm-hmm.
Goat Boy?
Yeah.
Okay.
And he said that's what he's really known for, but he's he wants to be known for more than that. So
he's pretty funny. His stand-up is really good.
Yeah,
I mean,
I
Goat
like
Boy
him.
is possibly the worst thing he's ever done in terms of quality, but in my opinion, he's so much funnier than that to me that it's funny to me that's
yeah, and he's also known for Half Baked.
Yeah.
The Super Stoner and Half Baked. So he takes his father on the road, and his father is actually quite a bit older than average that should be for his age. Like his dad should be in his early 60s.
Yeah.
Because he's 42, I think, 43 or something like that. And his father's 84.
Oh wow, yeah.
So he's a product of a second marriage. Is what it is. His dad fought in World War II, and the whole movie is just about having this experience on the road with his dad. And it was actually really heart touching.
That's
I
cool.
cried. I was sitting there watching. As I had my iPhone out, and I was like, got
Is
tears.
it new? Where did you watch it?
On Netflix.
On Netflix. Okay.
Yeah.
And it's called, what is it called?
More Than Me.
More Than Me. I'll have to check
it's
it
in
out.
the comedy section.
Right on.
It was really good because it's like he talks about how he's not going to be here much longer, but he gets in there and he just fucks with this old man the whole time. He punches him in the stomach, takes his hat, takes his cane away. And, he's like, it's literally like watching a 5-year-old dance around let's move it back into the 50s. A 50-year-old was old back in the 50s.
Totally.
And so you're watching a 5-year-old dance around a 50-year-old just doing stuff. And that's what Jim Brewer's character, not his character, that's the way he is. Just dance around, just being a goof. And then he talks about, then he gets really into having to wash his dad, like actually be a nurse for him, because there's I won't say too much because you'll like it.
Watch it.
It was actually really heart touching because heartwarming because it was a 30-day tour across the middle of America, and he went to a lot of historic places and just got to share this experience with his dad, and it was pretty good. I liked it. It was. I would recommend it to a lot of people. I mean, I think I did recommend it to at least a half a dozen people this last week.
Cool. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I watched a documentary not this week, but I think 2 weeks ago. I actually only watched half of it because I didn't like it that much. But it's called Vigilante Vigilante, I think. It's on Netflix, and it was about. It's kind of like a low budget documentary. It wasn't that well done, but it's about. It's talking to graffiti artists about this old man / group of old men in New York. I think it was New York, who paint over graffiti with silver. Like they have this like nighttime footage of like they'll go and tag something, and then like the next morning it will be painted over with silver paint. And it was really funny to me because the artists were like waxing poetic about how like they want to fill the world with expressive ideas, and how this person painting over their ideas is like destroying their art. And to me, like, I don't think the makers of the film really, and maybe they do in the second half, like I didn't watch the second half because it just wasn't that engaging. But the irony of going, well, my art of putting a sign up is better than the art of the person who painted over my sign, even though it's a silver thing. I'm like, well, maybe that guy's an artist, and he's making some kind of statement by painting over with silver paint, because he does it in, like, different shades of silver. And so to me, I was like, well, now you're just saying that you're the person who gets to choose the idea, when if you really look at, like they're talking about, like, the democratic, like, if you have a big wall and the wall is just green, like, that's so, like communistic and, like, or not communistic, like, totalitarianistic, like very institutionalized. But then if you cover it with a mural, like, how much greater that is.
It becomes alive.
Yeah, and I'm like, well, yeah, and then you are now the institution who's saying that you have a right to choose what idea is expressed on that wall. And so then the next person who comes along has just as much right as you to paint over whatever you did, and maybe they want to paint it green, or maybe they want to write, like, whatever the idea it is. And I just find it really funny when people get, like, they don't appreciate the irony of their own ideas. You know what I mean?
They don't. It's almost like they can't embrace the impermanence of it, too.
Yeah.
It's like, I painted it, well, how dare you cover it up?
Yeah.
You covered up something else.
You are the one who painted, and then they're talking about, like, property destruction, because there's, like, these social groups, or, like, community groups that get together to talk about removing graffiti. And they're like, well, you're destroying our property by graffitiing it, but then the graffiti artists are accusing the people of painting over it of destroying their property, which is their art. And I'm like, well, now you're just in a big circle logic where you're all pissed off that other people are doing things to change the thing that you think needs to be a certain way. And to me, the solution then is just, like, if you're really a true graffiti artist, you love the person who paints over yours. You go, yeah, that guy is out there doing what I'm doing, so now I'm going to paint over his. And then he's going to paint over mine.
It becomes a back and forth. It becomes a tug of war,
And then that, you would enjoy the organic nature of that.
The ever-changing landscape. Yeah,
totally.
I actually really dig graffiti art.
Me too.
Really good graffiti art. Matter of fact, we took a dinner train trip a few years ago, and it used to be the dinner train was in Renton, and it went through the neighborhoods and suburbs of Renton into Woodville, but now, and they moved it to Tacoma.
But it still runs now?
No, it's done. It's
really?
done. But it was kind of neat because you weren't going through this this, more rich area, like from Renton to Woodinville, you were actually going through Tacoma.
Yeah, and for those who don't know, from Renton to Woodinville is like basically Microsoft Alley.
Right,
it's like
right.
every rich.comer in the world lives in that strip of land.
It's almost like driving through a garden.
Yeah.
And taking the train, and then you guys are really scenic. And then we took the same exact train. They just moved it to Tacoma.
Yeah.
And it was, you rode through the ghetto. You went, it's like you were in people's backyards. You got to see cars stacked on top of each other, which was kind of cool. I liked it. And then I love watching the taggers, their art as we went by, and you got to see territories because you could notice the tags repeating themselves, and it was just kind of neat. And then it ended up way out in the woods.
Oh, nice.
Lake
Man,
Powhatan out by where we live now. It was cool. It was not the experience I remembered it.
Yeah.
Because it was different, but it was my son's very first train ride.
Yeah.
And so it was, the cool part is when we went, because I took my wife for her birthday, I think it was her birthday, and we went on this dinner train ride, and then we went 10 years later almost to the within the same time of year, we got this same exact server.
Weird.
In the car. We ended up in the
How
same
random
exact
is
car.
that?
It was
That's
really
cool.
And we walked. We were way more active the second time.
Yeah.
Before we just sat there and so we're not supposed to move on the train, Then we got up, we're running around the train, going to the observatory car, and it was cool.
That's cool. I love trains, and in the Pacific Northwest, there are very few trains compared to other parts of the country and world. In Chicago, everything is on a train, which I like because it's just reliable and it's nice. But in Washington, it's definitely a novelty.
It's getting there. Mm-hmm. It's getting there. We got.
We're getting more.
We got the South Lake Union Transit. Or the slut. We got the slut that runs around here, and then we got. The
I've
Link
never
Light.
heard that before.
You never heard of that
That's
one?
really funny.
Yeah.
I've never ridden. I haven't ridden the light rail here.
Yeah. That was the big joke when they named it the South Lake Union Transit.
That is really funny.
I think they quickly renamed it to Link Light.
That's
and
funny.
then we have the Orca, which runs south to north south. It goes from Seattle to Tacoma.
That's the one that comes through here down to SeaTac, right? Or is
Tacoma. It goes all the way to Tacoma Dome.
Oh, yeah, I don't even know that.
Yeah, it goes to Tacoma Dome to King Street Station. I think it goes up to Everett too.
Okay.
I think. I'm not positive. I've only ridden it from the south to the north.
Okay.
It's nice.
Is
it's
it?
really nice.
That's
You meet
cool.
people. It's sometimes people just want to sleep on the train.
Yeah.
I can't. I'm like, I want to meet. Oh, there's people on here. I want to talk.
Oh, you're one of those.
I am. I can't.
In Chicago, I would have been annoyed with you.
Yeah. Well,
but in Chicago, it's like the train is it's either Hobotown or Commuterville, and so you get on, and if people are talking, I was always like, I would have headphones in my ears, even if I wasn't listening to anything, just to create a barrier between other people so they wouldn't bother me, because all I wanted to do was just sit on the train and maybe knit and have some peace before I get to work in the morning.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, that is the don't fuck with me sign.
Yeah.
I have my earbuds in, and if I had a question, I'd probably tap and say, excuse me, what time is it? And then, but that was it. If they're sitting across from me, there's no book in front of them, no newspaper, no laptop, nothing. Game on. You're free for conversation to me.
No way.
Yeah.
I hate people like that. I hate that so much. People, I've been known to be have headphones in my ears, be looking out a window and knowing someone is right in front of me speaking to me and just completely ignore them. And pretend maybe I'm deaf and can't hear them and just stare out the window.
I got panhandled by a deaf person one time, and
Did you?
I think the person was deaf.
Okay.
It was over. I was working in in another warehouse down here in Seattle, and the guy comes up to me and hands me a note. And the note was soggy and wet, and I just walked out of the gas station, and knowing that when you walk out of a gas station, you probably have change.
Right.
And he actually followed me back to my car.
Ugh, that's so
and he
obnoxious
taught
to me.
me. Yeah, I he hands me the note. You know,
Yeah.
I'm a deaf person. I'm trying to get to so and so. Can you spare some
Right.
change? And I just turned around and I didn't say a word. I just mouthed a bunch of stuff, and he got angry with me. And I just shook my head and just made mouth movements, and I was like,
That's funny.
And I know he could hear me.
Right, yeah.
But it was, but it was just a funny story.
That is funny. I get really upset with panhandlers, and there's one on the corner of my street who sits in a wheelchair, who I have seen running down the street. And every time I see him sitting in the wheelchair, and he sells this really shitty art, like right in front of City Market. He's very well known in the neighborhood, and people stop and like look at his like really crappy paintings. And I'm trying to figure out how to like post a sign somewhere that says like, this person is not wheelchair bound. They are pretending to be disabled. Do not give him money. Because he's pretending to be disabled, and that makes me like so irate that like every time I see him I want to get in it with him, and I want to like go, I know that you're not really wheelchair bound.
Right.
I'm sure you have some other disability we can't see, but you are manipulating people by sitting in a wheelchair.
That actually,
and it makes you a bad person in my opinion, because there are people in wheelchairs.
Because there are people that actually probably should be banned, but most of those people are too proud to.
No, the more I work in social services, the more I think that there's no reason for anybody to be panhandling.
That's what I mean. That's there are people that should be don't, because they're too proud. They have self-respect.
Yeah.
Now one time we were down in Reno, and we had
Reno's fun, isn't it?
It was it's gone downhill.
It's a goofy town.
Yeah, it is like the Tacoma of Nevada. Actually,
it's
Tacoma's
a really
nicer.
good.
Tacoma's nice.
Tacoma's kind of cute, but there's cute parts of Reno.
So we're getting gas, right? And this kid comes up to me. He says, "You're from Puyallup." And I said, "How'd you know I was from Puyallup?" Well, the license plate frame on my
your
car it said Chevrolet of Puyallup. And I was like, well, you obviously know Washington because you pronounce Puyallup.
Right, yeah.
And because most people are like, how I would
Poi
something.
Yeah.
Pui something. And the kid, he was a young kid, and he's like, look, I'm stuck down here, and I'm trying to get back to Tacoma.
Right.
And I was like, you know what? That's a good story. So
it is a good story.
I gave him $5. I gave him $5.
That's fine. I mean, I see nothing wrong with if you're doing it out of the goodness of your heart, going like, I don't really care about giving money out. Like, for example, the thing that bothers me about your story of the deaf guy is that he followed you to your car.
Right. But I turned around and I did like an improv move on him, and it's mouthed the
totally. Yeah. Because really, like, that's. I don't know. Like, I've been cornered by hobos where, like, in Chicago, there's like one train station where there's like some really pushy guys, and they like try to trap me because there's a place where you're coming out of the train station where you there's only one way to exit, and they were blocking the exit, and then I just smash into them as hard as I can. And I'm like, I don't know you. You're trying to block me in an enclosed space.
That's robbery.
I'm assuming that you're trying to rob me.
Well, it is robbery in a way. Cause
yeah.
You're feeling trapped.
Totally.
And hindered.
Yeah.
And that's robbery.
And so I have no problem with people who are trying to make me feel intimidated.
Right.
Then defending myself against them. Like, that's the, and I, like, there's so many panhandlers who don't in any way try to intimidate people, but when they start doing that, it really bothers me, because it's like basically, in my opinion, criminal behavior.
Right.
So.
No, I don't mind street performers.
No, me neither.
I like street
fine.
performers,
Unless I'm hungover and it's in a train station and they're singing out of key, and then I get really grumpy.
I like the ones that
Chicago has some really bad street singers.
The banging on the buckets.
Really bad.
I
like the buckets.
Yeah, bucket bangers.
Unless I'm hungover and they're in a train station.
Being hungover.
I hate unnecessary sound. I hate it.
Hungover. Well, that's self-inflicted.
I know.
They're just trying to earn a living.
Whatever. Then they need to tune it up, because I hear singers so many times where I'm like, you are so flat that I would never give you $1. Like, maybe you need to pay me for voice lessons and then learn how to sing in key.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So, I was gonna bring something up. Actually, my son, he's really good at he's a YouTube junkie, and
Nice.
he's always finding stuff that I scavenge from him, and I end up watching. There's one guy, his name's called Zay Frank. I don't know if you've heard of him. He's actually, I don't know how to describe him other than he loves using the internet to get people to help him with projects. Like he'll have his followers. He's got
What kind of projects?
Like he did a layering project where he just had everybody take a snapshot of their face, and he layered it up, and now he's having them do it like the same motion, like say the same words.
Oh, that's cool.
And the weird thing is, no matter what color you are, no matter what sex you are, no matter what size you are, you layer them up, and they all look like an androgynous Middle Eastern, or no,
weird.
Like a European, like a Italian, like just very bland looking.
Yeah.
But everybody, when they layered up like 15 different people, there's a large airplane.
Yeah, there is. This is like right in a flight path, I think. Yeah. Trying to
That's
figure that out. That's why the microphones are good when they're close to
That's
our
the
mouth.
beauty of being down here. We just got buzzed by a B-17.
We did. You know what, though? I'm looking at the thing, and it's, it'll be fine.
yeah.
You can still hear us.
But it's cool. I like that because it's actually coffee airplanes.
That's pretty much
that's
Seattle. Totally.
But anyway, so he'll get together, and he's kind of have you ever seen TED Talks?
Yeah.
He's been on TED Talks quite a bit. Zay Frank, Z-E Frank.
Okay.
And he'll...
I have a beef with TED Talks right now, but that'll take us on a tangent, so you should finish what you're saying.
I don't follow the TED Talks, but the Zay Frank guy, he basically gets on and just like he has these little 3-minute videos.
That's cool.
And sometimes they help me through stuff. Like
Right
if
on.
I'm feeling like...
Oh, I think, did you post one on Facebook recently?
Yeah, we were singing, yeah.
Yeah, I saw that. Oh, cool.
Oh my! I
didn't
was
watch the
watching
whole
it.
thing.
Again, I'm an emotional guy. I cry. I'm a
That's
crier.
good. It's
I don't
good to be
mind.
emotional.
I'm actually pretty secure with the fact that I cry, but I won't do it. That's why I don't like watching chick flicks, because I'll cry. I will cry, and I won't stop myself. So those kind of things just got to touch me, and I like sharing them with. I got my aunt, who's the emotional freedom coach. I'm constantly sending her stuff. And at first, she thought it was virus, like she was getting spammed. But I wouldn't tell her what it is.
Oh yeah.
And it's like when you when you get the video on Facebook. Hey, I found a video of you, and click on it, and then your whole network would go down. But no, I started.
It doesn't seem to happen as much anymore.
Yeah, because people got caught on.
Yeah, for sure.
But I remember the first time that happened. I clicked on it,
click. I was like,
all
oh,
bling,
such
bling, bling,
a
bling, that stuff
dumbass.
started flashing off.
Yeah,
man.
dang it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
that's cool. There's this really interesting art piece I saw one time. I think I was on StumbleUpon. And it just, have you ever used StumbleUpon? You put in kind of stuff you're interested in and then click this thing, and it just gives you a random site that's about that, and it's like crowdsourced, so things like that are more interesting come up more often. And it's this art project. I think it's called like the Pantone project. Pantone color systems. It's basically like a color coding thing that's like numbers of, if you like if a color will have like an RGB, like a number associated with it. Well, the Pantone numbers are like numbers for every shade.
Okay.
And it has just people's faces and the Pantone number of their skin tone, and then the background is their skin tone. And they're trying to have like a person for every different skin tone, and so you can scroll through this thing that goes from like the pinkest, most pale to like the darkest, most brown person that they have in this like art series. And it's really cool, and I don't know why it's cool, but like it's really pretty and interesting to just look at like the variety of human skin tones.
It's almost like when you
there's thousands.
When you are like painting on paint on your laptop,
you
choose the color, and it's got the shades of the blacks, and it goes from black to white.
Exactly. Only it's like peach to taupe
but it's all skin tones.
Yeah, it's really like I spent probably 20 minutes just scrolling through looking at all the different varieties of skin tone. It was really because it's like a bust shot, and they won't have any shirt on, so it just shows as much skin as possible, but not like boobies or anything.
Right.
And then it has the background in the same skin tone.
Oh, cool.
I just found it to be really beautiful.
In other than the shadow. And okay.
Totally. It's really pretty. Like, it was really cool. So, I was going to say something about... Oh, okay. Well, I have a couple of things before we finish.
Okay.
I just got distracted. Sorry.
I did too a little bit. I was watching a crazy man across the street waving his arm. The guy in a blue shirt over there. Sorry, he was over there wailing.
Oh, that person is totally visibly crazy.
Yeah.
I have this thing about sometimes I'll see a person from behind not moving, and I'll say, that person seems crazy to me. And like thinking about what about them seems crazy, but there's like certain like very subtle unnatural things that people who, and I think it's our like evolutionary brain that we've evolved in order to like identify people who maybe are dangerous.
Right.
And because have you ever done that? You ever seen someone and you go, oh, I need to stay away from that person,
Yeah.
and you can't really figure out why?
I'll make that analogy with my son too, and he's like, Dad, you're crazy. You notice that? And I said, that's how I can find them.
Oh.
I know my kind. That's how I know who they are. It's like they live.
Yeah.
You know that movie where the aliens, you can see each other, but you got this cloak around you.
Totally.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're about out of time. One of the things I wanted to talk about, okay, so we're not on iTunes yet.
No.
I'm getting down to a little bit of podcast-centric stuff. But we're going to be on iTunes soon. I'm working with a friend of mine, which I'll talk to you about, in order to set up the iTunes thing in an advantageous way. Because right now I'm having some problems with RSS feeds. But I decided just to ask my friend who has, like, he's a computer programmer, to just help me set it up correctly. But we're always available on SoundCloud, and I think we'll just continue to be available on SoundCloud even after we add iTunes. So if people want to follow us on SoundCloud, we'll always be there.
Right.
And like us, add us as a favorite, tell your friends. Really, I think word of mouth is the best form of advertising.
I got to thank everybody who so far has given me really positive feedback and shared. I haven't had as many people like our page as much as your friends have. I keep getting these announcements. I'm like, I feel so inadequate, but I'm out there. I'm
Did
talking.
you invite your friends, though? Because I invited all of my friends.
I did.
Okay.
I did.
Plus, I think half of my friends...
It shut down my invites on our page when I go to the... Because I'm on there as an administrator.
Yeah.
When I go to invite your friends, and it won't let me invite anybody. So
weird.
I think it has just something to do with iOS. It has nothing to do with the. It has.
Right.
So
we'll have to look at it.
I'm constantly just. I'm almost saying, here, let me see your phone. I'll pull it up for you.
Yeah.
And
that's great. And I think actually half of my friends who've liked us on Facebook didn't actually listen to the podcast.
That's fine.
I've been bugging them. I'm like, oh, you liked us? Did you like the podcast? And they're like, I haven't listened to it yet. I'm like, fine. You need to get on it though, because it's funny, and anyway.
We've had close to 70 listens, I think, as of this morning. 5 minutes. 5
and then
mornings.
also, I noticed that some people like listened to the first one and went back to the previous one and listened to that.
Right.
So I was thinking this week I'll do an edited version of our first two, the interviews, and we can post those.
That would be awesome.
And that way we can think of it as a double shot of From the Coffee Shop, and so people can have those available. And what else was I going to say about that? Like us on Facebook, mark us as a favorite on SoundCloud, tell a friend. If anybody's interested, the music I use at the beginning and end is the song Gin Soaked Boy by the Divine Comedy, which is a song I've always really liked. And I didn't use any of the lyrics, but it's this really funny song. Anyway, you should look them up, the Divine Comedy. I think they're like a 90s band.
I think I've heard of them, actually.
Yeah, they had like one really popular album in the 90s, but they're just like a fun band that I like. And hopefully soon we're going to start having some guests, and we're just going to keep posting and plugging along. If anybody has any feedback or any suggestions, or if you're listening and you think, I love this podcast and I want to be a guest or want to be involved, You can email us. Our email address is fromthecoffeeshoppodcast@gmail.com. You can also Twitter us at Coffee Shop Podcast. There's no the in it. At Coffee Shop Podcast on Twitter.
I couldn't find it.
Oh, you couldn't find it?
I kept putting the in it.
Oh, there's no the in it. I probably told you there was a the in it.
Probably. I wasn't listening. It's fine.
Coffee Shop Podcast. We're also on Facebook and SoundCloud. And, yeah.
And also, feel free, if you feel like you want to post a picture on the Coffee Shop Facebook page, please be appropriate, because there are young ones that might stumble across it.
And
plus,
we don't want to get flagged.
Right?
Yeah.
So,
maybe no genitalia.
Right, exactly. Well, just saying that might get us tons of it. So, unless it's like penis monologues, then you can do like that.
Oh, that would be really cool.
Or no, Puppetry of the Penis.
I know. I do remember that show.
But yeah, if you want us to talk about something, post a picture or leave a note, and we can probably bring it up.
Yeah, or if you have a suggestion of a cool coffee shop in your part of town that you want us to check out, we're looking for cool places.
Right.
So today was a little bit disappointing, but hopefully next time we'll have a more exciting review.
You know, actually, the gray actually matches. It was a little bit fired up, and it kind of warmed up as we got going. And
yeah. Yeah, I think today's going to be a nice day. So, great. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll talk to you next week. Huzzah!